Welcome to Channel 18 News. I'm Jim Rogers. Sparks from the rim of a wheel caused a tanker loaded with unleaded gas to catch fire and explode on State Highway 24 in Delta County. The incident occurred around 5 p.m. Wednesday near the Highway 24 State Highway 154 intersection. It caused traffic to be diverted from the area. Carrie Bell of Winsboro, the driver of the vehicle, was uninjured when the tire blew and the rim created sparks, causing the fire. A truck from L3 of Greenville sprayed foam on the gas truck and tank to extinguish the flames. An official groundbreaking for the $7 million plus 78,000 square feet facility to house J.B. Weld on CMH Road in Silver Springs attracted the presence of J.B. Weld employees, J.B. Weld leadership, City Council, and members of the Economic Development Corporation. Chip Hansen, J.B. Weld executive, said the expansion will enable greater efficiency for the company.
Well, we're expanding and we're building a brand new facility here of about 78,000 square feet and excited to break ground.
With this expansion, what's the purpose of the expansion?
Well, the expansion has twofold. It's one to allow us to continue to grow, which we have over the last several years, and then second to put the current facility where we're under 3 different roofs under one roof and make it more efficient.
Yeah, that efficiency counts for business, doesn't it?
Absolutely, but it's also a growth story. We've added a number of jobs here in Sulphur Springs over the years, and we've basically outgrown the current facility.
What kind of investment are we talking about?
Overall, it's about a $7 million plus investment here that we're making, and we look forward to trying to be in here before the end of the year.
You guys had some other choices besides just Silver Springs before this, did you not?
That's correct. We looked at a number of things, but at the end of the day, we thought with both the quality of people we have here, the experience, and the help and support of the local community and the EDC, it just made sense to do it right here. It's interesting, we have this slogan now called the world's strongest bond, and it's really more than just what it means for our product. It means the bond that we have in our communities and with our customers and with ourselves here as employees, and it's really come together, and I couldn't be more proud to be a part of it. So thank you again. The new facility, which is officially groundbroken today when we did the ceremony out there, but we officially broke ground in April. It is going to be about a $7 million investment when it's all said and done. 78,000 square feet, and it'll hopefully allow you folks to all be under one roof. Ladies in the office, there'll be a separate restroom and your own. We're going to have a sizable break room, series of restrooms where people can work, and looking forward to it. Right now it's on track to be available for us to move in near the end of the year. So keep your fingers crossed, keep praying for good weather, and if that's the case, we'll be in there before the end of the year. So it's a big deal. We're going to work through some things here. The Hopkins County Economic Development Commission has supported us with that site, and they've been helpful, and they should be congratulated and commended. I know I don't live here, but I know many of you do, and so thank your local official and public person who is involved, because they did support us on this, and that's a big reason why we decided to do what we did and stay here. And we're going to start to turn into a phase here where we'll start to plan on how we're going to move. The good news is we're not up against any kind of time constraint where we go, hey, we've got to get out of here by this date and into this date. I'd rather just do it right, and we'll figure out what that means, and I would expect that we'll do it right, but we'll we'll meter it out between November and early part of next year. Certainly we want to get it done before we get into the busy season. But if the timing comes together, we'll look at moving parts of the facility and then ultimately all of it over there before we get too busy into 2019. So we're going to need help from everybody. It's going to be a big task. As I said before, we're going to have 32-foot high ceilings. For years, I remember when I first walked in, the ladies used to crawl up on top of the machine there and their heads almost hit the ceiling, and I don't know that we're going to know what to do with all that space. So not only are we going to get the size difference, we're going to have the ability to store things up on a much higher basis than we have. Jen and folks over in shipping, I don't know if you're going to know what to do with 6 doors and it's going to be a whole new way to learn how to pick, because right now we have managed for the first 50 years or the period of time in that building with 1 door. So I think it's going to be a little easier. As I said, we're going to have at least 18,000 square feet for each area, roughly, for distribution, filling, packaging, and then the mixing area. They're kind of broken into their quadrants, and a new office space and break rooms for everybody. So really exciting. You know, I've been involved in a couple of builds, but this picture really doesn't do it well justice. But we have a couple of receiving doors, and then the shipping doors, an office back here for shipping, and then the entire office facility with a break room in between up here, and we've got room for expansion. The county has set aside the land down this way, that would be west of our building along the interstate, for future expansion for us if we want it. So we have an option to buy it later on.
The Hopkins County Dairy Festival pageant for 2018 is actually just hours away now. All 8 contestants will be on stage Saturday night, and one will be crowned Dairy Festival Queen. Let's meet our final 2 contestants, number 7 and 8. Contestant number 7, who are you?
My name is Lucia Yanez. Obviously, I'm contestant 7.
And Silver Springs High School?
Yes,
Okay.
I do attend Silver Springs High School.
Thank you for coming today. And who are you?
My name is Caitlin Williams, and I'm contestant number 8, and I go to Silver Springs High School.
Okay. Are any of the 8 contestants from other schools?
There's only one, and that one is from Cumbie.
Okay.
Yeah, but the rest of us 7 all go to Silver Springs.
So you enter the Dairy Festival contest when you are a junior, like in the early spring, and most all of you are 17 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
And then by the time whoever gets queen finishes with her year, then you're at graduation or have just graduated high school.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's a very, very good time of life to devote yourself to this, and it is kind of devoting time. I mean, can you say that it's taken up some of your weeks recently?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
A lot of my early summers, yes, but it's been a lot of fun.
All right. Thank you, Caitlin. Well, let me find out some more things about you. For example, let's start with last week. Last week was huge for you, I'm sure. So what kind of experiences can you tell me from last Saturday? Lucia?
Probably the milking contest. That was one of my favorites. And this is really weird, but milking cows is so much fun. I'd go to Coons Dairy like in a heartbeat just to go milk cows again.
No kidding.
And there was this one cow in particular that everyone really liked, or disliked. I really liked him.
An infamous cow?
Yes. It was, we don't really know their names, but we nicknamed him Curtis.
Okay.
Because it had like this little attitude problem, apparently. from what I've heard, that it was just kicking everyone, kicking buckets. It would just be given the biggest attitude ever. So whenever we actually went for a practice run at Coons Dairy, they had to put him away. Put her away, that one.
I was going to say, isn't it a girl?
Yes, that one. So they replaced her, and out came another cow. But the cow was just peeking out, just trying to get attention either way. And it was just wanting attention, and so no one was giving it attention. So I went over and I was like, hey, buddy. And it was just enjoying her life just so much from that one petting.
Cows with attitude. Well, did you place in the milking contest?
Yes, ma'am, I did. I got second place.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am.
Amazing. Very good. Caitlin, what about you from last weekend?
Probably my highlight would be the milking, because I had not milked a cow. The first time I milked a cow was the Thursday before, and I'm usually just a dog person. I usually don't really like, the cows are a little big for me, but I stepped out of my comfort zone and I did it. And we think that I had Curtis, the kicking cow.
It was Curtis.
And so that was a little rough, but I did place third, and so I did do well overall.
I see that you did. What about your float, Caitlin? You have a float experience, or what was the theme of your float?
I had masquerade party, and so I had like a courtyard almost theme with a milk carton fountain, and we had masks everywhere. And I had a few friends and my sister, a few of her friends sitting on there with masks at the party drinking milk.
Okay. What about you, Alicia?
My theme was tailgate party, and I absolutely love tailgating and anything football. So the fact that I got that theme, I was just over the moon, because football season is my favorite season because of marching band.
Oh, yes. So you are assigned your themes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, no, we weren't assigned. We got to draw.
Okay, you draw. Okay. Well, and speaking of, and let's don't leave this part out, you mentioned marching band. Tell me the things that you do at school.
I do band, and pretty soon starting July, I'm going to be going into marching band mode again. And also theater. I do theater a lot, whether it be a small little acting role or being stage manager backstage, or just helping around in the auditorium. And the fact that I'm back in the auditorium just makes my heart so happy, because that's my second home.
Yes, our auditorium is beautiful. Mm-hmm. What about you, Caitlin? Tell me about some things that you do in school.
I really enjoy being a part of clubs. So this year I was a junior key club officer, and I'm involved in SUCO and FCCLA, which is Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. I actually competed with FCCLA this year, and I went to state.
Well, what did you do in the state competition?
I did a mock job interview, and so it was just like a job interview. Okay. So I went in, and yeah.
Either of you play sports?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Sports not your big thing. That's perfectly fine. You are going to get the workout of your life this week, though, during rehearsal, dress rehearsal, and pageant night, which are all just ahead for you in the next 3 evenings. And so rehearsals have already begun. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What have you kind of gotten your feet wet with so far? Any experience you could tell me?
Well, I would say that it's been really helpful, because just to see the talent that we have, and it's just gotten better throughout the nights. Everybody's gotten more comfortable and more used to it, and it's just amazing to see just how much we've all grown in just a few nights. I think is amazing to me.
This is true, and I'm happy to hear that you say you can see that, because usually it's just us looking on that can see the growth. Dairy Festival and the pageant preparations really do bring out some things about a person maybe they didn't know they possessed or hadn't had time to really cultivate. But it's another side of being a young lady at your age. We're really pleased that you decided to take the plunge. So your talent is?
I will be tap dancing to Singing in the Rain.
And what kind of background do you have in dancing?
Well, I've taken dance for most of my life. I stopped dancing for a little bit, but then I picked it back up, and I just love it. I love tap dancing especially because I love the way it sounds, and it's just beautiful to me.
I always wondered how the tap dancer made all those different clicks. It doesn't seem like they're doing all that much with their feet, but anyway, I'll watch you and maybe I can figure it out this time. What about you, Lucia?
I'm actually doing a skit about finding a talent, so that'll include different things like mellophone, French horn, singing, I guess acting, and a little bit of being a stage manager as well.
Interesting. How did you put that together?
Well, I was just thinking one night, how can I possibly show all of this, because I just could not decide on one. And for the longest time I was deciding whether just horn or just singing, and once again I was like, how are y'all making me choose? I literally can't choose between both of them. And it just came to me. I was like, all right, why not both? Well, and so I tried to find however, and the skit idea just came out of nowhere, really. It was just one of those late night thoughts, and I was like, I need to do a skit.
So a creative idea just came to you and it kind of blossomed after that. And you mentioned horns, so you're in marching band. What instrument or instruments do you play?
I play French horn, and for marching season, that's mellophone.
So the marching French horn is a mellophone. Okay, I didn't ever know that. Okay. Well, so the walk. Let's talk about the walk. This is part of your training now for pageant night.
Yes,
and it is part of your judging as well as a contestant on stage. So we have an expert here that coaches the contestants in the walk. So, Caitlin, tell me a little bit about what you've learned so far.
Well, I've learned that it's not as easy as you would think. It's not just getting up there and walking. There's a lot of things that you have to think about when you're doing it, because it's more of a glide and not just like a stomping walk like we do every day. And it's also something that I didn't think about that she told us was you have to keep your hands relaxed and flowy and not tense, because that's how they can see that you're nervous. And so that's what we do in every day. And I had never even thought to think of what are my arms doing right now while I'm walking. So that was interesting.
All of that kind of conveys a message to the judges and the audience. Yeah. What about your, well, you have so many things that you look so composed and graceful to the person in the audience just looking at you, but you're thinking about your posture, every single thing at one time with this smile on, and it comes across great, but it's not just walking.
Yes, ma'am.
What about you, Lucia? What do you think about the walk?
I think the walk is, to me, it's not a big issue, because I found similarities in it with marching.
Okay.
So that's just how my mind just automatically put two and two together. And with like the explanation that she gave us, I just figured, why not maybe use marching? Because with marching, you do glide across the field. And so that's how I made the connection.
Interesting. And I think that does add up together. Well, let's talk about your evening gown. That is definitely part of pageant night. What have you chosen, and why did you select what you did, Lucia?
I chose a teal dress with a sparkly top and a silk bottom, because I really wanted to have my dress, how do I explain it, be shown underneath the lights, because there are some dresses that that just don't shine as well under the lights. And since I have been doing theater since 7th grade, I know what works best, and I'm just real excited to see that dress underneath the lights.
Okay. And your gown, Caitlin?
Yes, mine, the color is royal purple, and it is, it's a solid color, and so it's just a solid royal purple, and we added a rhinestone belt to make it shine a little bit, but it's just real simple because that's usually what I tend to go to, is more simple
Okay,
fabrics.
more of a classic look.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, none of this would take place without our sponsors. So we want to know who your sponsors are, and also anyone in particular that's a special help to you thus far in your preparations. Let's start with Caitlin.
Well, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Junior Waverly Club and Ag Workers Insurance, and also my family. They have just been amazing throughout all of this. They've helped with every little thing so that this could be made possible. And Kristen Lewis has been helping me with my dance, helping me get more comfortable. And Tracy Fox is going to help me backstage, and she's already been amazing. And a lot of my friends who are a lot like family have just stepped in and taken their time to help me, which I just think the world of, and I just thank them very much.
Thank you, Caitlin. And Lucia?
I'd like to thank my sponsors, Chris's mother Francis and Dairy Max. And I'd also like to thank all of my supporters, including my family, my friends, and especially the ladies at Whatchamacallit. They were a lot of help, and they were actually one of the ones that pumped me up, and they were a lot of help with me and gave me a bunch of pointers and tips.
And Whatchamacallit is?
Whatchamacallit is a dress boutique in Dallas.
Okay. All right. Well, do you feel ready? Do you feel ready yet for Saturday night, or almost ready?
I think we're just almost there. Just a little bit more.
Oh, and I didn't ask you, and we have only a minute or two for this, after high school, your plans, your future plans, Lucia.
What I want to do is make a big dog sanctuary and rescue a bunch of dogs that are just minutes away from being put down, because not every dog can be adopted, but within that dog sanctuary they're just welcome to be there as long as possible, because I really do love dogs. I would buy every dog in the world right now, honestly.
Tell me, do you plan to go to college?
I do plan to go to college. I'm just still not sure what college or what I'm going to major in, but for sure that dog sanctuary is one of the top priorities of mine.
We don't have to know exactly what we're going to do in life at your age. Not just yet. What about you, Caitlin?
I plan to pursue a degree in education, and I'd love to come back to Sulphur Springs and teach after college.
No kidding.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, we're going to wish you both the best of luck, and we'll be watching for you on Saturday night. Contestants number 7 and 8, Lucia Yanez and Caitlin Williams. Thank you.
Thank you.
A lady come into the library researching about a man that was in a wreck in 1954. She was doing research for some people up in North Carolina that had lost a son, and she thought this might be him. And so I found the stuff on microfilm for her, and when I saw his picture and it turned out not to be who she was looking for, I couldn't sleep. I was wondering, who is this man? You know, this is a young man that his family's missing him. They don't know anything about him. He's an unknown. And so I started researching.
So his road ended in Hopkins County in
Yes.
1950?
1954.
And we were not able to identify him?
No, he was hitchhiking from Dallas. A man picked him up and didn't ask his name, just was giving him a ride. And he said, I can take you to Paris. And he told him how to go. He said, I'm getting sleepy. Can you drive? And he said, the hitchhiker said he would drive. And it was like midnight. And he took the wrong road and ended up coming to Sulphur Springs, and out on 19, and he had went to sleep, and they went off into the creek bottom,
So
and he was killed.
the hitchhiker driver was killed.
Yes.
And the truck driver,
The man driving, it was a car, and
Okay.
the man that was driving, he was injured and was taken to a hospital, was in a coma for about 3 days, but he survived it.
well, so this roadside accident, and so the authorities came, and then the remains were finally buried in Hopkins County.
Right. They finally got the newspaper to take pictures of him, trying to identify him. He was with Day and Day Funeral Home, and there was like 2,500 people that came through there trying to identify him, and they couldn't identify him. And 10 days later, they buried him as an unknown at the city cemetery
With a stone that said,
with a stone that said, known only to God, and the date that he died.
so we're going to fast forward many, many years.
10 years went by, and his brother worked at a service station, ran a service station in Gilmer, Texas, and a man pulled in, and he told him, he noticed he had an out-of-state license plate, and he was talking to him, and he's like going to visit a brother we hadn't seen in a long time. We'd lost contact. He said, I lost my brother 10 years ago. We've never heard from him since. He used to live in Dallas, and no one knows where he's at now. And the man said, come to think of it, I remember reading in the Dallas paper and in Sulphur Springs paper, there was a man that was killed here in a car accident about 10 years ago. And he said, you should contact Sulphur Springs. So he called Sulphur Springs police, and they sent him to Judge DeWitt Lloyd. And when he went to Judge DeWitt Lloyd's office with his sister, they showed him a picture of him. And he said, that's my brother. That's John Everett Finney.
My goodness.
And he asked him, when did he die? And he said, August the 10th, 1954, 10 years ago. And Kenneth said, oh my. He said, that was on my 18th birthday.
Well, what happened next in this story?
Well, since then, I thought I've got to find out more about him, but I had a friend of mine that's a member, and she's one of 9 first families here in Hopkins County. She lives in the Woodlands, Carol Ann Smith, and she said, I can help you with it. I was telling her about the story, and she goes, I'll be glad to help you with it. So it kind of sucked her into the thing, and I got excellent help from her writing the story and editing it, and we started working on it, and we found his family. I've been in contact with all of them. There was 8 children. His father died when he was 17 with TB. That left 8 children at home with their mother from 2 years old to 17. And he decided to go to the service. And while he was gone, his mother died with TB. So at the time, they were living in Cass County. And the sheriff took those children in, and he let the 16-year-old girl go live with whoever she wanted to. And the 3 next boys were sent to Buckner Orphanage Home. And the 3 little ones were adopted out. The sheriff adopted them all out, found them a home. Wonderful families. They had great lives with them. But when John found out in the Army that they were in Buckner's Orphanage, he allotted his military pay to go to Buckner's Orphanage to help raise his brothers. And where he was going when he had this car wreck was to see his 2 little sisters up in Texarkana.
Amazing and touching story.
It is.
Well, so the culmination of all your work and research, I mean, the pieces have just fit together like
Well,
by design.
there was some roadblocks. I filed all these papers through the state to get it. I went and bought his death certificate, and everything said unknown. So I filed with the state to get it changed. And they said you can't do that, even though you have the information. It has to be a court order. So then I had to get a court order to change the death certificate and have it amended. And so Judge Robert Newsom, and I took it to BJ Tiers first, Judge Tiers, and he said, let me take you over to Judge Newsom. And Judge Newsom got me through the court system. I was able to get an amendment. I had to file that with the state to prove he was dead. And then I had to file through the state to try to get Social Security number. I wanted to find his military. The Buckner Orphanage papers, thanks to his namesake nephew, signed a release for me to get those records, and it showed that he was in the Army and had allotted his pay. So that was, evidence that he was in the Army. I filed with the National Records for Military, National Archives. Got his military records finally after 6 months of filing papers back and forth. They thought his records were lost in the fire that they had with all these military records. But they found them. There was just a few burnt spots on them. Mm-hmm. And then by that I was able to order him a military headstone.
Well, will this be placed? What will happen next?
This Saturday at 10 o'clock at the city cemetery, we're having a celebration of life for John Everett Finney. It's going to be a military ceremony. They'll do a three ball volley. Mm-hmm. They'll do taps, and then they will fold the flag and present it to his sister and brother, because he has just 2 siblings left. And then we're going to reveal the headstone. It's already been placed, and TAP Funeral Home has been gracious to help us get this all set up.
Marvelous story.
And then we're going to leave from the cemetery. We'll go to the square, and the Sons of the American Revolutionary Soldiers will be there to perform. And also Clayton McGraw is going to do a speak of the wall and let the family know how the wall started and all about it. And then we're going to reveal that we've had John Finney's name added to the wall.
As if he were adopted by Hopkins County.
Yes.
Yeah. Very touching.
Thank you.
In hearing you tell about all the different ways and means that you went to get the documents you needed to rename this person or identify this person and then honor him, were you kind of put through your paces? Have you done all these types of searches before?
Not to this extent. I was in touch with places in Austin and Washington, Highway Patrol, police, sheriff. There's 3 pages of sources that I have, went through, and I crossed everything I could cross, but there was one thing that got me started on it, when I thought, how do you find out about a man that's been killed in a wreck, And Ronnie Glossop used to be our president at the genealogy library, and I asked him when he came in one day, I said, Judge, how do you find something on a man that was killed in an accident here and you don't know anything about him? Well, if anybody knows Ronnie Glossop, he cuts up a lot. And he said, go look in the inquest book. And I thought, that's right, we have those books on our shelf. So I went and got the inquest book for that year, and I come back and I was so excited, and I grabbed the book to open it, and he was reading something, doing research, and I looked at him and I said, what am I supposed to look under, use? And I flipped the book open. He said, that's a start. And I flipped the book open under use, and it said unknown man, and it told all about his accident. I had chills all over me.
My.
So I was like, okay, this is your sign. You've got to start, and you can't finish till you get through. But he's got a wonderful family. I've got to meet one in person, and I've talked to all of them all the time, and they're on my Facebook. And
this has touched so many lives.
Yes.
Amazing work by you, and amazing work by our Genealogical Society library.
Yes, a lot. We got to do 2 stories and put it in our heritage book, our genealogy quarterly that we do, and it's for members, and we'd love to get members, you know, so there's wonderful stories like this in it all the time. And then, you know, we're always looking for volunteers. You know, if you really need a good way to find out something, we're the place to do it.
And the Genealogical Society is located inside the public library.
Yes,
on North
ma'am, at
Davis Street.
611 North Davis Street.
And so this Saturday will be a happy day for you.
Yes, it'll be happy and sad and exciting, you know.
And you'll be able to close this volume of your life, which has been over a year and a half long, and you're contributing something back to our community. But you said something in all this story that you've told. You mentioned first families. I would like to ask you if you could come back, and we'll make that another story
Sure.
here for Channel 18. Who were the first families of Hopkins County? If you'll come back, Rhonda, we'll find that out.
Okay, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Channel 18 News. Have a great evening.